Hello YouTube. You know that Christmas build I told you guys about? Well, we're going to do it a little early. The i3 I'm going to get back at Christmas. And for now I'm just going to use this build that I'm going to put together here. But it's going to be the same board and everything, it's just that I'm not going to get the i3 until Christmas time. So, this is the old board. This was my home theater computer for quite a while. This board is actually going to be sent out to somebody pretty soon once I pack it up and everything. It'll be sent out to the guy as a new old computer. So there you go. I'm keeping that heatsink though. That's mine. That's my 939 heatsink, my prized heatsink. Anyhow, this computer's empty, and we're gonna rebuild a Linux box. But first, let me show you what happened to the old Linux box. You may think the case is a little small here. This is what my home theater PC used to be for a while. I moved what was the Linux box over here. I moved it over here, so now it is my home theater PC. The tri-core build. So, there you have it. And it's been a great build for the entertainment system so far. So I'm pretty happy with that. Now, I tried running Linux on this board here, but the NVIDIA chipset on here does not like Linux at all, or maybe it's vice versa. Linux doesn't like the NVIDIA chipset. So, after that, I just said, no. I put Windows on it and used it like that for a while. XP. So, what's going to happen is this board's going to go to a friend, and this board is going to go in this machine here. I got this ECS motherboard on Newegg because it was on sale for the Black November thing that they're doing, and it was pretty cheap, $45 basically before rebate, and with rebate it'll be like $30. So when I get my $15 back, that'll be all good. So let's check out the board. It's an H61 board, so there you have it. It actually supports Ivy Bridge with a BIOS update, so that's pretty awesome. You can put Ivy Bridge processors on this board. I think that applies to any H61 board. If you put the right BIOS on it, you can use Ivy Bridge processors. So the features this board has is overclocking, GPU overclocking at 218%. Wow. Uses solid capacitors, which is great to see. 6 times the lifespan of electrolytics. And that's important on a VRM because those capacitors take a lot of heat for what they do. Anti-static protection. ESD protection on the VGA, USB LAN, longer lifespan. So that just helps chipsets not die as quickly. User-friendly design. Multi-language BIOS support. Well, yeah. And it supports Windows 8. Hooray. This board will probably never run Windows 8 because it'll be a Linux box. And it has one of these things, which I'm not going to bother with. Here are some of the badges up top here. Norton Antivirus. Oh no! Cyberlink Media Suite and Musi, whatever that is. And it is Ivy Bridge ready. And it's going to get a Sandy Bridge processor, and it's probably going to stay a Sandy Bridge processor for quite a while. So there you have it. What do we have on the back here? There's an airbrushed photo of the board. It's a nice looking board, and it's a nice board at that too. It takes up to 1333 memory, which is exactly what's in the board now. I opened the box and stuffed memory in the board before I put it back away. It has DVI on it, which is nice, and you can convert that to HDMI with a cable if you'd like. PCIe Generation 3. Which is pretty cool. SATA 3 gigabits per second. Men in Black 3. Whatever that is. Nah, it's just motherboard something probably. It's just motherboard performance and tools and stuff. VRD12 compliant. So that's new power standards and efficiency standards, which is always good. Intelligent Easy Utility, Intel Extreme Tuning, 32 nanometer processors. It also supports 22 nanometer on the Ivy Bridge. certified by the European Union, and they're ROHS compliant, which means they use unleaded solder, which sucks, but whatever. Let's take a look at the board. As you can see, I ripped the tag off there for the rebate. And just by looking at the back plate here, there's a lot of blank space. Got some nice SATA cables here, which I'll probably use. And the board itself. And here we are with the motherboard. As you can see, I have RAM in it already. It's 4 gigabytes of DDR1333, DDR3 1333. Here are the ports you get. It said DVI on the box, but I got HDMI instead, which is, I'm fine with that. I get real PS2. You can see the solder pads for DVI right there. Get an HDMI port, VGA. VGA is probably what's going to be used if I don't end up using a graphics card, which I will end up using a graphics card anyway, so whatever, man. USB, Ethernet, and sound. Ethernet is Atheros, and the sound is VIA, so that was a little bit of a turn-off, but when using Linux, that's usually not a big deal, so there you go. And as you can see here, you have PCI X16, X1, and X1 slot. Notice how there's no PCI slots on this board. This is a first for me. I don't think I've ever bought a board without one. It's scary, man. Let's peel back this gigantic sticker. Whoopsie. Well, there you go. There's the socket right there. Okay, here we go. LGA 115X. So they use these covers for the 1156 boards as well. There's the solid capacitors on the VRM circuit, which is very good to see. There's solid capacitors a lot of places on this board, but these here are electrolytic down here, and that's alright. What do we have here? There's the front audio. SPDIF serial port header right there. A TPM module header right there. Some USB. Front panel. Why is this so blurry? And then SATA, of course. And above that, there's a debug header. There's the 24 pin, sorry. And of course the CPU power right there. So, there you have it, guys. That is the board. There's not much special about it. It's just a little micro ATX board that I'm going to stick in this machine. Now what I did is I ordered a Pentium G620 off of eBay for this board until I get the i3. And the main reason I'm doing this build at all now is just to make sure the board works, because I don't want to upgrade this at Christmas and just find out that my board is broken. That would be horrible. So I'm stopping that before it actually does happen. So we're going to stick a Pentium G620 in here and use that for about a month, and then I'm going to use that and then I'm going to put the i3 in there. So focus. There we go. Pentium G620, 2.6 gigahertz. Now, what the Pentium G620 is essentially an i3 without hyperthreading. So it's not a bad processor at all. It's just like the Pentium Dual-Cores used to be on the Socket 775 platform. So, and I was actually very happy with those. I still am. So this should be a good processor until I get the i3 back again. So we're going to stick that in there. And what I'm going to do is use the heatsink out of my i7 box for now until the heatsink I ordered gets here. And then when I upgrade to the i3, we'll upgrade the heatsink as well. So, let's do this. Okay, I fastened the board down in the machine and put the processor in its socket there. So, there's one thing I don't like about this board already, and that's the fact that the front panel connectors are not labeled on the board itself. So, you have to go into the manual and look at the pinout here, which is not horrible, but it's a pain in the butt. I'm so used to boards that have it written on there. Even like even this ASRock board, which is supposed to be a budget board, has them, labeled, nicely labeled right down there. And this board doesn't. So, I guess ECS assumes you know what the hell you're doing. Or the boards just aren't laid out as nicely. Whatever. That's okay. I figured it out. So, let's get the rest of this all together. One thing that's nice about these newer boards is that the PCIe slots don't suck. They actually have things like this to make it easier to install graphics cards and stuff. So, that's a nice touch on these newer boards, even one as budget as this. Alright, this is the heatsink I'm going to use temporarily. It's one of these horrifyingly bad stock coolers. I mean, some of them actually do cool the processor very well, and they are quiet coolers. But the downsides to these are not only do the blades sometimes kill the cord on these fans, but the blades, just because of the way the cord wraps around the fan. But this one has copper, which is a nice touch. And the thermal grease is there, which is really the main reason I'm just going ahead and using this now, just because I don't want to waste thermal grease. But here's the reason why these heat sinks suck. These little plastic push pins are the worst mounting system ever. As you can see, it's very fragile plastic clips, and these break. I've seen them break. In the socket 775 era, these used to be under so much tension that it would actually bow the board, which is just really bad. And I've actually seen Pentium 4, some hyper-threading 775 Pentium 4 stock heatsinks, these clips just break. Like one side of the clip there just breaks off. I've seen that happen to Grateful 42 most recently, and I've seen it happen other times as well. The socket 1155 ones like this don't put nearly as much tension on the board, just because they're wider, bigger coolers. But the mounting system is still terrible. I mean, those pins can still break. And it doesn't bow the board anymore, but still, it's just not a good mounting system at all. So I have a cooler on the way that uses screws. But for now, I'm just going to use this. I'm going to use this for like a month, and then go to a screwed-down backplate design like they used to do in the old days. And like they do with most higher-end coolers these days, and there's a reason for that. So, let's put this in. The only real good thing about these heatsinks is they're very easy to install. You just pretty much put it in, line it up, then push these down, in sequence, and there you go. Of course, wires are getting in the way. Wonderful. So, tuck that right there. There. Now it should just stay there, and it'll be used for like a month, and then I'll switch to a cooler that doesn't suck. Okay, we have a complete system here. Got the Pentium G620 down there. We've got the hard drive. This is a 9600 GT. I think it has 512 megs of RAM. That should be good enough for Linux. 4 gigabytes of 1333 memory. I believe it's 99924 timings. Got a DVD drive up here. Got the 550 watt power supply here. And we're all good to go. So now we just need to give it a test. Okay, the computer's in its rightful place. So let's get this thing started and just make sure the board works. I miswired the buttons, son of a bitch. I'm gonna fix that real quick. Cat face. Okay, now that I fixed that, let's try this again. There we go. Let's get into the BIOS here. It's an American Megatrends BIOS. Very basic type of BIOS. Yeah, these are pretty easy to use. Just check the PC health status. Smart fan function is on, which is fine. I like quiet fans. PC health status doesn't really tell you much, unfortunately. So, SATA configuration. It's in IDE mode, which is fine. I don't need AHCI. I'm not using an SSD. CPU configuration. There we go. It detected it properly. It booted up. There, what were we doing before I was interrupted? Oh yeah. We were looking at all this stuff. LAN configuration. You can turn it on or off. Well, there you go. Power management. ACPI. We were looking at CPU, I think. So it detected all that stuff properly. It even has the TCM module configuration. Super I/O. What is that? Chipset. So that lets you turn IGD multi-monitor. There's a bunch of features on here you can just read. Okay, that's what MIB3 is for. Motherboard Intelligent BIOS 3. So this lets you overclock your CPU, chipset overclock, turn spread spectrum on or off. So that's just all of that, what all that's for. So that should be on CD. Alright. Detects it. We're good there. Not install. Alright. So let's stick a Linux USB key in here and get this all going. Yeah, F7's it. There we go. Let's boot from the USB stick here. You can do it! Yay, Linux Mint 13, which is what I'm going to use. Since Ubuntu 12.10 sucks. So. And the reason it sucks for me is because it doesn't work right. Yeah, load all that stuff. So I'm going to install it and everything. Alright, we're at the desktop. Let's do an LSPCI to see what's in this machine. Oh boy. Alright. Host bridge. Wow, this thing supports Xeons. Cool. Lots of Intel stuff. Lots and lots of Intel stuff. Well, there you have it, guys. Athros Ethernet and the 9600 GT were both detected, so I think it's time we get to installing this, and then I'll just have my Linux box back again. And we'll upgrade it to an i3 around Christmas time. Whee! Alright, I got Linux up and running here, enough for the Steam client on Linux to start. So I'm downloading TF2 and Yet It Moves and Killing Floor right now, and hopefully they work. Since I'm on Mint 13, I have to use the experimental NVIDIA driver 304 on here. So last time I tried this, Killing Floor wouldn't let me change my resolution without NVIDIA just completely crapping all over it. Well, not NVIDIA driver, actually. Xorg would just crap all over itself. So yeah, hopefully that works this time. But hey, I got this all going. But hey, I got this all going now. I got my background and everything. Got a bunch of stuff installed down here. It's all good. And it's Mint 13, as I mentioned before. It's running beautifully. Absolutely beautifully. I guess I'll show you guys the system monitor. There you go. Dual core. CPU. That'll be dual core hyper threaded around Christmas time. As you can see, I have 4 gigs of RAM in this machine, so I put the same amount of swap, pretty much. Here's the system menu. This is what I'm running. And it's excellent so far. So this is definitely a successful upgrade. So this will be a lot of fun. And this will be a great build for testing out Steam games. Especially when I get the i3 in here. It'll be good for that. I mean, the Pentium Dual-Core play games absolutely fine. Because the graphics card will take more of the heat than the CPU will. So that'll be great. Alrighty. Successful Linux box upgrade. It'll be even better come Christmas time, so I'll be sure to update you guys on this around that time. So, have a good one, everybody. Ciao.